Incredible twist revealed, Millionaire CEO surprises poor food truck girl who ignored him for 5 days. The rain drummed rhythmically against the metal structure of Anna's food truck, a harsh percussive reminder that her day was about to be as bleak as the clouds overhead. Deflated, she peered out at the street, her heart heavy under the burden of overdue bills and the fading charm of her grandmother's recipes. With pride wedged awkwardly between necessity and ambition, she repeppered the pork on the grill, desperate for that perfect taco that would bring passing customers to a halt. But with each customer who passed her by, Anna felt that dream slip further from her grasp. Just then, a well-dressed stranger appeared at her window. Ethan, looking every bit the affluent CEO he was, stepped into her canopy of stress. "Hi. I'm Ethan. I wanted to try your tacos," he said, his smile disarmingly genuine, but Anna was already on guard. The disdain she felt for the privileged class flooded back an uninvited rush of irritation. She brushed him off, barely meeting his eyes as she busied herself with cilantro and limes, afraid to let her thoughts wander into the comfort of casual conversation. Can I get a taco?" he persisted, and that simple request sent her pulse racing. Could he not see the weight of her struggles? The likes of him didn't he come down to the streets, didn't he understand what it meant to hustle for every dollar? Torn between resentment and the instinct to serve, her fingers trembled around the fresh tortilla. A sense of guilt washed over her as she prepared his order. Was this another rich guy just wanting to taste authenticity? "That'll be $10, she said, forcing a smile despite the bitterness rising in her throat like bile. Ethan handed her cash, but instead of moving on, he lingered. "Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now let's continue. Days turned into a week, and Ethan returned each afternoon, pulling her from her internal chaos with friendly chatter. Each time, she felt herself softening, all while wrestling with nagging doubts. What did he want from her? Was he simply bored, flirting with the idea of a struggling food truck owner as a form of entertainment? She concealed her thoughts behind laughter and the sizzling sounds of her grill. But then the truth slipped from her fingertips like grains of salt. She overheard him speaking to another customer about the investment opportunities in the city. The world seemed to freeze around her, heat evaporating from her oven as betrayal slammed into her. How could this person, so emblematic of everything she resented, masquerade as her friend, seemingly oblivious to the chasm between them? The hurt pierced through her, making her chest tighten with confusion and anger. She confronted him, her voice laced with incredulity. "You knew what I was going through, didn't you? This was your plan all along." Ethan opened his mouth to explain, but his words splintered against her bitterness. She couldn't breathe as tears threatened at the edges of her resolve. Here he was, the wealthy man who could save her business, but the truth felt like a knife in her gut. Just then, a figure emerged from the haze of rain, someone from her past who could unravel everything she had fought for. As they approached, Anna's choice loomed before her with menacing clarity. Trust Ethan, a wealthy benefactor who wanted to save her from drowning, or continue down the path she had carved with her own hands. The storm raged outside, mirroring the tempest within her, and in that moment, Anna felt the weight of a choice pressing heavy on her chest. Anna's heart pounded as she recognized the figure bringing chaos into her carefully constructed world. It was Jake, her old business partner, the one who had pulled away, lured by the promise of a stable paycheck over their shared dreams of culinary greatness. He had always played it safe, and now he stood under her awning, soaked and slightly disheveled, as if the rain had stripped away the facade of control he usually wore. "Jake," she managed, her voice shaking not with fear, but confusion. "What are you doing here? I heard you were struggling." "We need to talk," he said, his voice steady despite the chaos around them. She could detect the undercurrent of concern masked by his typical bravado. It infuriated her. Did he think that just because he had seen some success, he could waltz back into her life, pestering her about her failures? "I'm fine, thanks," she replied, lifting her chin, fighting the urge to show how shaken she felt. Ethan remained at her side, a silent observer in the storm of her emotions. His presence made her buzz with confusion, a reminder that perhaps people like him could genuinely care. But with Jake, everything felt scripted, rehearsed. He had always worried about the bottom line more than passion or authenticity. "Listen, Anna. I didn't come to judge. I came to help," Jake continued, inching closer to breach the divide that had been forged long ago. "I heard you're thinking about selling. If you need cash, I can help. I have connections that could know." The word escaped her lips like a bullet, slicing through his entreaty. "I don't need another safety net." Ethan shifted beside her, a flicker of curiosity crossing his face. She could sense him studying her, weighing her reaction, perhaps reflecting on his own past and how it colored his current intention. But Jake's presence only fueled her defiance. "Why do you always do this?" she accused, her voice rising, the edge of frustration coloring her words. "You come back every time I hit a rough patch, offering your version of salvation. But your version means conforming, losing everything I've fought for." "Anna," Jake pushed, his voice rising to match her fervor. "You're not winning. You're sinking. I'm here to help you find stability." Her mind screamed in protest, a cacophony of thoughts urging her to remember why she had parted ways with him. Sure, his approach promised safety, but it felt like a trap that would snuff out the flickering flame of her dreams. Anna took a breath, grounding herself amidst the storm, a resolve washing over her as her heart steadied against the rush of emotions. "I'm not sinking. I'm building." Her voice was calmer, yet firm, fueled by a determination that began to take hold. She looked to Ethan, wondering if maybe he was the one person who understood her better than she realized. Could their strange dynamic actually serve as a lifeline? "You don't see that, do you? I'd rather struggle authentically than thrive in someone else's shadow." Silence fell between them, the world outside bustling in a deluge of rain. In this moment, Anna started to recognize a distinct strength emerging within her. She may not have it all figured out, but she was not alone. She felt the crackling connection with Ethan. As Jake turned to leave, Anna could feel the heaviness lift slightly. She was already navigating the slippery path of her own identity, one taco at a time. The noise of the world faded, leaving just the two of them beneath the food truck canopy. Then Ethan stepped closer, breaking the silence. "I won't force you to accept help, Anna, but I see something in you that's worth investing in. Just think about it, okay?" His words lingered, sparking a conflicting whirl of hope and trepidation within her. It felt dangerously close to trust, but trust meant vulnerability, didn't it? And vulnerability could lead to betrayal. In her heart, a new reality began to take shape, a world where she didn't have to choose between two opposing futures. She could carve her own path, fueled by her passion and the courage she was starting to recognize but had buried under layers of doubt. The storm inside her was dissipating, yet in its place, a new question crept in: could she seize the opportunity to grow both personally and professionally without sacrificing the authenticity that defined her? The air crackled as they exchanged glances, both uncertain and engulfed in the potential of this new partnership. Anna knew that navigating this uncharted territory would demand all her strength and sharp instincts. What would she decide now, with each step rippling into uncertain waters? The moment loomed, an adventure waiting to unfold, promising growth wrapped in meticulous risk. Anna stood in the aftermath of her confrontation with Jake, wrestling with the mix of adrenaline and apprehension swirling within her. The rain, still falling, became a muted soundtrack to her internal struggle, each drop echoing like a reminder of the pressure she was under. The thick tension lingered in the air, but she felt a flicker of hope igniting. Ethan's unwavering gaze drew her focus back to the present, grounding her thoughts amidst the chaos. "Are you okay?" he asked softly, the concern in his voice a stark contrast to the storm outside. I don't know, Anna admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. It's just Jake's reappearance reminded me of everything I've tried to leave behind. Ethan nodded, his expression serious, allowing her the space to gather her thoughts. Maybe it's time to redefine what behind means, he suggested, his words probing deeper than she expected. You have a choice, Anna. You can let Jake's past define you, or you can create your own future. His insight forced Anna to confront the gap between her aspirations and the reality she faced. Jake had left their dreams for security, but that didn't mean she had to follow suit. Instead, she had a unique opportunity to build something distinctly hers, free from the constraints that had once shackled her. Create my own future, she repeated, tasting the words. They felt foreign yet exhilarating. She cast her mind back to the taco truck and the laughter shared over perfectly seasoned meat. The vision of what she wanted ignited anew within her, a thriving culinary venture that reflected her heart and creativity. Still, doubt nagged at the edges of her resolve. Could she really do it alone, or did that mean risking losing everything? Ethan's voice pierced her thoughts again. What's next for you, Anna? The question hung in the air, pulling her thoughts together. Tonight had been a breakthrough, a pivotal moment where she recognized the power of her dreams, yet a deeper uncertainty loomed. Navigating this new chapter would require clarity and strategy, not just passion. I want to expand, she finally said, her voice gaining steadiness. I want to create a menu that tells a story, a reflection of who I am and where I come from. I want to host pop-up events, explore collaborations with local farms, maybe even dive into catering. The words tumbled out, an avalanche of unfiltered ambition. Ethan's eyes widened, his enthusiasm palpable. That's brilliant. You have enough talent, you just need to harness it. What if we brainstorm together? We could outline a plan. What are your immediate goals? As Anna started to list her thoughts, focusing on the logistics of her dreams, she found herself surprisingly encouraged by Ethan's engagement. He wasn't just a companion on this journey, he was someone who acknowledged her passion and potential. He patiently challenged her to think bigger, to strategize, rather than restore safety. But what if this was all a dream? The nagging thought crept in, threatening to cloud the clarity she had grasped. How could she trust that this partnership with Ethan wouldn't end like her previous ones? The vulnerability and fear of being let down clawed at her insides. Yet, she remembered the strength rising within her, the conviction ignited since Jake's disruption. Ethan, she began, hesitating at the edge of her internal battle. Are you really willing to invest time in this? I might fail. I'm not afraid of failure, Anna. I'm afraid of watching someone like you not try, he replied, unwavering. His sincerity struck a chord deep within her, and she felt an unexpected rush of gratitude. The evening stretched on, conversations layered in possibility while the rain eased into a drizzle. With each word they exchanged, Anna ventured further into planning her future, fortified by her companion's encouragement. Yet, an underlying current of uncertainty whispered, prodding at her core what choices loomed over them that she hadn't predicted. As they wrapped up, Anna considered the evening's trajectory. She was at a crossroads, faced with the exciting yet daunting prospect of shaping her destiny. The gravity of her choices weighed heavily, but the vibrant image of her dream clung to her vision. The road ahead was labyrinthine, and the shadows of her past were not far behind, waiting to trip her up when she least expected it. Could she navigate between ambition and authenticity without losing herself? The echoes of their discussion lingered, fueling her anticipation for what lay ahead. But as hope unfurled, skepticism weaved alongside it. She knew challenges were just around the corner. What awaited her in the tempestuous waters of self-discovery, collaboration, and risk? The adventure was far from over. Anna woke the next morning, the soft light filtering through her window revealing a world washed anew by the rain. Yet, the promise of a fresh start didn't chase away the heaviness in her chest. She rolled out of bed, her thoughts swirling like the remnants of last night's storm, with Ethan's encouragement echoing in her mind, and the weight of uncertainty nagging at her resolve. What had she truly committed to? She found herself lost in the details of her culinary aspirations. The vision of a menu infused with her experiences, memories of flavor and culture, beckoned her. She could visualize vibrant dishes that told her story, that could beckon patrons to come and taste her world. But the doubts snaked into her thoughts again. What if she failed to bring it to life? Determined to channel her anxiety into something productive, she decided to take action. Sitting at her small kitchen table, she grabbed her laptop and began to map out her ideas. She envisioned a concept that fused traditional recipes with modern twists, and as she typed, the enthusiasm began to overshadow her fears. Each dish that materialized on the screen felt like a promise, an affirmation of her potential, rooted in authenticity. Ethan's offer of collaboration returned to her, bringing with it a mix of hope and apprehension. Could she trust him to temper ambitious dreams into practical strategies? She recalled his conviction and felt a flicker of support reassuring her. Maybe she wasn't entirely alone in this. She needed to explore that possibility further. After a quick shower and a breakfast filled with focused energy, Anna set off to meet Ethan at a local cafe. She tried to quell the rising sense of vulnerability that accompanied stepping out into this new venture. As she arrived, the familiar aroma of coffee and baked goods wafted through the air, drawing her focus to the task ahead. Ethan was already seated, a notebook in front of him, fingers moving purposefully as he jotted down notes. Anna's heart raced as she approached. She took a seat, laid her laptop before her, and took a deep breath. "All right, let's brainstorm," she said, uncertainty evident in her voice. The exchange began cautiously, yet quickly gained momentum. They bounced ideas off one another, each suggestion building upon the last. Ethan's questions prompted Anna to examine her desires more deeply. With each discussion of catering logistics or potential retail partnerships with local farms, she felt a spark of creative energy igniting within her. "Have you thought about incorporating some of the local culture into your food?" Ethan mused, his gaze bright with enthusiasm. Anna's mind raced. "Maybe I can host themed nights that highlight specific cultural cuisines, like a Taco Tuesday paired with storytelling about the dish's origins." The idea blossomed even as she spoke, filling her with excitement and confidence, not just in her concept but also in her ability to shape this venture. Yet, amid that excitement, panic flickered like an unsteady flame. Would the community accept her? What if Jake resurfaced with more than shadows from her past? Hadn't these dreams once been snatched away? Ethan seemed to sense her wobbling confidence. "What's worrying you?" he asked, deftly pulling her back from the edge of self-doubt. What if I fall short, or if people don't like it? Or what if I fail?" She hesitated, despair simmering just beneath the surface. "Anna, every great venture starts with a risk. You're crafting your story, it won't be perfect, but it will be yours. Lean into those fears rather than away from them." His words propelled her forward, wrapping around her like a lifeline. With renewed determination, Anna directed the conversation back to her plans, and they spent hours scribbling ideas across napkins, teasing out elements of her culinary identity. But as the meeting wrapped up and they prepared to leave, Anna felt a familiar tension thicken the air. The anxiety of forging a new path hung palpably between them. She wanted to trust Ethan fully but found herself wary of the repercussions of their friendship. Can I count on you?" she finally asked, almost against her will. "Always," Ethan assured her, his sincerity underscoring his words, but Anna couldn't shake the feeling that she was walking a tightrope. One misstep and everything would collapse around her. As she stepped back into the daylight, the glow of her renewed purpose illuminated possibilities, but shadows of doubt lingered in the corners of her mind. How far could she go before the past caught up with her? What unseen obstacles lay ahead? The future was hers to shape, but each choice beckoned with the potential to fracture everything she was trying to build. And just as that uncertainty began to tighten its grip again, her phone buzzed a new text notification. It was Jake. Anna stared at her phone, the screen glowing and illuminating her anxiety. Jake's name flashed before her, a jarring reminder of everything she was trying to escape. Her finger hovered over the notification, feeling the weight of her decision pressing down. Ignoring it felt impossible, yet she feared what his message might contain more than anything else. "Everything okay?" Ethan asked, breaking her from the spiral of dread. His gaze followed hers, a mixture of concern and curiosity swirling in his expression. She forced a smile, hiding her turmoil. "Yeah, just an old acquaintance." The word acquaintance felt hollow, a veneer over a complex web of history and emotion. "Want to talk about it?" he prompted gently. She shook her head, her throat tight. "No, not right now. Let us focus on the food." The urgency in her voice felt uncharacteristic to her even as she spoke it, revealing her instinct to divert the conversation as if doing so could shield her from the ghosts lurking just outside the margins of her new life. Ethan nodded, but Anna could see the question lingering behind his eyes. Instead, they dissected the ideas they had generated, finding a common rhythm in mapping out the culinary experiences she envisioned. But no matter how passionately she spoke about infused salsas or themed nights, the tension remained. An uninvited guest in their brainstorming session. What if she couldn't dodge Jake forever? He held the power to unravel everything she was building with Ethan. The weight of her uncertainty grew heavier, acting like an anchor, threatening to drag her back into the depths of her past. After what felt like hours, Anna finally excused herself, needing a moment to breathe without the cloud of expectation hanging over her. She stepped outside, letting the crisp air atone for the heat radiating within her. With the cafe behind her, she felt both liberated and terrified. The world lay before her, filled with potential, yet weighed down by memories that were hard to shake off. As she leaned against the cool brick of the cafe wall, she finally allowed herself to open the text. Jake's words hit her like a punch, intense and unyielding. "Hey Anna, it's been a while. I heard about your plans. Let us catch up." A tight knot formed in her stomach. She couldn't afford to engage with him again, not with everything at stake. But here he was, acting as if the fallout of their past had been forgotten with time. An overwhelming sense of betrayal washed over her, mingled with the fun prospective future she was beginning to sculpt. Her fingers danced nervously over her phone screen, glancing back to the cafe through the window. Ethan sat there, deep in thought, likely drafting logistics for their next steps. The temptation to reply, to explain herself to Jake, to say raw things she'd kept inside was intoxicating, yet perilous. What was Jake's real motivation? Frustration surged through her. Years of healing, of building her identity beyond their shared past, could wither on the vine if she engaged. She rubbed her temples, trying to push the thoughts away, but her emotions felt inextricably linked to him. Suddenly, she remembered something Ethan had said during their earlier discussion: lean into those fears rather than away from them. Was this the moment she could confront her past head-on? Or was reaching out to Jake only inviting disaster? The buzzing in her hand reminded her of the stakes. This was as much about self-preservation as it was about building the life she dreamt of. With resolute clarity, Anna typed fiercely, her heart racing as she hit send. "No, not now, Jake." As the message disappeared into the ether, she felt both a rush of empowerment and an alarming uncertainty. She had made a stand, but the question loomed: would that be enough to keep her past at bay? Just as she rejoined Ethan inside, the door chime ringing behind her, a second message from Jake arrived, causing her heart to lurch. This one wasn't just another casual invitation. It was a full confession, a startling revelation that could change everything. Anna's heart raced as she read the message again, her breath catching in her throat. "I've changed, Anna. I've been going to therapy. I want to make things right. Please, let us talk." The words clawed at her, provoking a blend of disbelief and horror. Jake had never been one to delve into his emotions, never one to take accountability. The mere suggestion that he grasped the gravity of their past was oddly unsettling. Did she really want to invest any more time unraveling a truth that had scarred her to the core? "Anna?" Ethan's voice droned in from a distance, pulling her focus back to the present. She had to regain her composure. This was not just a matter of her past, it was about building an uncertain future with Ethan. The mental image of their partnership blossomed, fueled by plans to bring fresh, vibrant food experiences to life. Could she really risk everything for an idea of closure with Jake? "Yeah, I'm coming," she called back, attempting to sound more casual than she felt. Balancing her emotions felt almost like an art form, now one she had yet to master. As she settled into her seat, Ethan's eyes searched her face for answers. There was concern written all over his features, the tension from earlier still radiating between them. "Everything okay?" he prodded, his voice tinged with genuine care. She hesitated, the weight of the moment heavy on her shoulders. "Just, a lot on my mind." The truth felt insufficient, as if she were shielding him from a storm he couldn't possibly understand. A flicker of disappointment crossed Ethan's face, but he nodded, redirecting his focus back to their notes. "No problem. I can only imagine how overwhelming this can be. Let's just work on the menu for tonight's pop-up." His enthusiasm rose as he spread the documents across the table. As they fine-tuned the details of infused oils and flavor profiles, Anna felt herself slowly shifting into the groove, tapping into her creative side. The scars from her past would always exist, but the best way to heal was through action and forward progress, wasn't it? Time slipped away, and before long, the cafe filled with customers eager to experience their culinary creations. Anna thrived in the rush, her energy revitalized by the warmth of engagement. Each dish plated was infused not just with spices but also aspirations, a manifestation of her identity, sculpted from years of uncertainty. Yet, just as momentum built, a familiar presence materialized at the door. Anna's heart plummeted. Jake had walked in. The air grew thick with tension. She instinctively froze, her movements abruptly curtailed, the vibrant moment dimming. Ethan noticed, glancing up to see what had caused her sudden stillness. "Who is that?" His voice cut sharp with the realization, and Anna's pulse quickened in synchrony with her thoughts, teetering between anger and fear. "It's complicated." Jake sauntered over as if he had been summoned, his eyes locked onto her. "Anna, can we talk?" The tone of his voice was layered with a cautious urgency that's rarely associated with their past encounters. Ethan's body language shifted instinctively, the protective instinct blossomed in him. It was almost palpable, a fork in the road of their budding relationship standing before them. Anna's heart raced, plunging into the dizzying depths of uncertainty. This was at the moment she had both craved and feared, where her past collided sharply with her present. The revelations she faced were becoming unavoidable. The decision loomed large: would she confront her long-buried emotions, or would she double down on the new life she was creating with Ethan and shred the distance that Jake once commanded? As the intensity thickened with Jake's expectant stare, Anna found herself caught at a precipice, one where clarity beckoned, yet she was trapped within a fog of emotions. Her world had irrevocably shifted, and now it was her turn to navigate the chaos. "Let's step outside, where we can talk privately," Jake suggested, his eyes searching for something he likely feared he wouldn't find. Anna's heart hammered in her chest, and she realized this would not just be a conversation, it was the turning point she had both dreaded and anticipated. Would she take the step out of uncertainty or step back into an old chaos? The direction of her future hung delicately in the balance. Anna's feet felt heavier with each step toward the door, her body betraying her mind's desire to escape the confrontation. As they stepped outside, the cool air seemed to wrap around her like a familiar shroud, both comforting and suffocating. She was acutely aware of Ethan's concerned gaze on her from the cafe, as if he were a lifeline tethering her to stability. "Anna," Jake began, breaking the silence that hung between them. His voice was softer than she remembered, infused with a vulnerability that felt alien. "I know I don't have the right to ask anything of you after everything that happened, but I've changed." His words trailed off, leaving an unspoken plea in the air. She clenched her fists, battling the urge to scream, "You think you've changed? Do you even know what you did?" But she didn't. Instead, she focused on the wind, allowing it to carry away her simmering anger. "What do you want, Jake?" The words felt like lead in her mouth, heavy with expectation. "I want to explain. To let you know I've taken responsibility for my actions." His eyes flickered with something Anna couldn't decipher. Was it remorse? Or was he simply trying to salvage a facade? Therapy has opened my eyes. Therapy. Anna interrupted, her voice rising despite her intention to remain calm. You're throwing around buzzwords to sound like you've put in the work, but have you really changed? Because what I see is a man standing in front of me, making excuses. The rawness of her accusation hung between them, but Jake stood firm. No, I'm not making excuses. I'm saying I'm trying to be better. I owe it to you, to myself. The words echoed in her mind. Better? An image of their past relationship flashed through her thoughts, moments of laughter shadowed by too many nights spent crying, feeling utterly unseen. Could he possibly understand how deep his scars ran? Why now? She pressed, fighting to keep her composure. Why after all this time? Because, he took a step closer, his intensity magnifying the tension. I can't move forward with my life knowing I left you hurt, and I've finally realized how selfish I was. Listening to him was like peeling an onion. Layers of defensiveness fell away, revealing an unsettling vulnerability. It sent a shiver down her spine, compelling her to question her own motives. Did she want closure for herself or to ensure he was no longer a threat to her newfound peace? Ethan's worried expression flashed back into view, the warmth of his gaze contrasting sharply with the chill of Jake's presence. She couldn't ignore the budding life she had worked so hard to build, nor the way Ethan made her feel seen, valued, supported. He was everything Jake had never been, and the mere thought of jeopardizing that felt like a betrayal. I have a life now, Jake, she said, her voice steady but tinged with urgency. One that I'm working hard to create. And what if there's more to that life? He pressed, the desperation in his voice stirring something deep within her. What if we can find a way to repair things? Anna hesitated, the tumult of emotions crashing over her. It was a risk she had thought long buried under layers of self-preservation. Repairing the past would surely dismantle the foundations of her present, but what kind of life was built on avoidance? Answer me this, she demanded. What do you really want from this conversation? Closure? Forgiveness? Or are you still trying to control a narrative you think is yours? Jake's silence resonated louder than any answer he could have provided. He lowered his gaze, the realization striking him as hard as it struck her. I want to be free of this guilt. I want to at least try, he confessed, the weight of his honesty seemingly deflating the tension. Anna's chest tightened. Trying wasn't enough, it never had been. But her uncertainty was now palpable. She needed to reclaim her voice, to assert her boundaries without sacrificing her growth. The door to the cafe swung open, revealing Ethan's silhouette. The protective stance he took made her heart tug painfully. She knew he sensed the shift in the air, the heavy silence now filled with unmet expectations and potential regrets. Anna. Ethan's voice broke in again, anchored yet wary, a challenge to the unresolved turbulence. At that moment, she felt the crossroads of her past and present collide sharply. Would she walk back into the familiar shadows or embrace the light of her uncertain future? Jake, she breathed, finally realizing what she needed for her own peace. It's not about forgiveness. It's about moving forward. And that's a journey I've already begun without you. As she stepped back toward Ethan, Anna felt the weight of the past finally release its grip, paving the way for a fragile yet powerful understanding of her own self-worth. But as she turned, she felt Jake's gaze follow her, a lingering question she knew would not fade easily. Would the echoes of her past resurface again, or had she truly severed the ties binding her to the pain she thought she had moved beyond? Anna's feet moved on instinct, carrying her toward Ethan, whose expressive face contained both concern and curiosity. Their dynamic felt increasingly exquisite, as if it were a fine piece of art, something she'd carefully crafted with patience and intention. Unlike the chaotic mess Jake had left her with, Ethan represented clarity, someone who appreciated the person she was becoming. Are you okay? He asked softly as she reached him, his voice a balm against the rawness she had just confronted. Anna looked up at him, saw the subtle weariness around his eyes and the creases on his brow that hinted at his worry. She wished she could dispel his concern with a smile, but a knot of turmoil remained lodged in her throat. Yeah, just, dealing with some past stuff. She turned her back to Jake, feeling more robust in the presence of Ethan. It's complicated. Do you want to talk about it? His offer resonated with sincerity, inviting her to share without pushing. The impulse to open up flickered within her. Yet, each recollection of Jake came with the sting of shame and vulnerability. Not right now, she finally said, her voice steadier than she felt. Can we go somewhere? I'd like to step away. Of course. Ethan's agreement was quick, his straightforwardness a relief as they walked in silence through the nearby park, verdant life thriving around them. As they continued, Anna's thoughts turned inward, tracing the pathways she had traveled over these past months. She had dedicated herself to building a small business, focusing on the food truck that had become her passion. Each strained moment with Jake was outweighed by the joy her work brought her, designing menus, connecting with customers. But now, shadows of doubt crept back into her freshly painted world. What are you thinking? Ethan probed gently, instinctively sensing the walls she constructed around complicated emotions. She hesitated, wondering how to articulate the conflict roiling inside her. I'm torn between wanting to move on and the haunting echoes of my past. Ethan nodded, his expression urging her to continue. It's totally normal to feel that way. I have my own baggage, things that make me question my path. Anna felt the hint of a bond forging between them. Have you ever felt like you were on the verge of something big, but the past clings onto you? Every day. His response surprised her, but it also caused a wave of camaraderie she hadn't expected. I'm working on taking my own leaps, pushing myself out of my comfort zone, embracing what's next. But old habits die hard. His words struck a chord, and she found herself inspired. Anna realized that she, too, needed to shift the narrative of her life from preservation to growth. Just like Ethan took risks in his profession, she needed to reconsider the enmeshment of her experiences with Jake. What if my next step involves confronting my fears head-on? She questioned, articulate yet uncertain. That sounds like a powerful idea, Ethan encouraged, his praise lighting a fire within her. Trusting in yourself can be the most liberating journey. Anna's mind raced at the thought of breaking free from the chains that tethered her. Confronting Jake again might be necessary, not to resurrect their old relationship but to assert her independence, reclaim her story. I think I can do that, she said, the conviction in her voice surprising her. The next decision loomed large in her mind. Would the what-ifs become her stepping stones or her stumbling blocks? Rather than letting her past dictate her response, she could wield it like armor protecting her newfound self. Want to grab some coffee? Ethan suggested, glancing at her with renewed eagerness. For him, her emotional struggles were real, something he had clearly prioritized. Sure, she replied, feeling a newfound excitement wash over her along with a gentle resolve. As they approached the cafe, her phone buzzed in her pocket, breaking the momentary peace. With a mix of apprehension and anticipation, she reached for it, the screen illuminating with a familiar name. Was it Jake again? Or was it something more ominous, a reminder of what lay behind her? The moment her finger hovered over the notification, Anna knew that this was not merely a choice about a single conversation. It was the beginning of a larger journey toward redefining her life's narrative, one that she would forge herself. The weight of the past still lingered, but within her sprouted a determination that had only recently begun to blossom. As she took a deep breath, ready to jump into the uncertainty of possibly reaching for the past or holding tightly onto the present, she felt empowered by the very act of choice. What awaited her on the other side of that decision was a mystery she was steeling herself to explore, a confrontation where clarity might lead to profound revelation. The coffee shop was cozy, and the rich aroma of freshly brewed coffee enveloped Anna as they stepped inside. She followed Ethan to a small table by the window, her heart racing, anticipation mingling with anxiety. She exchanged pleasantries with the barista while Ethan placed their orders, giving her a moment to collect her thoughts. Seated across from each other, the hum of chatter and clinking cups formed a backdrop to what felt like a significant conversation. The sunlight streamed through the window, illuminating the confidence she saw reflected in Ethan's eyes. There was a flicker of hope within her as they began to chat about lighter topics: movies, music, and food. His laughter felt contagious. It made her forget the shadows of the past, if only for a fleeting moment, yet, underneath the pleasant banter, her mind grazed the conversation she had just initiated within herself. Confrontation. The word echoed with increasing urgency. She could feel it pressing against her consciousness like a tempest waiting to erupt. Was she truly ready to face Jake? Anna? Ethan's voice cut through her thoughts. You seem a bit distant. Everything okay? She hesitated, unsure if she should unravel the tangled feelings within. I'm just thinking about some decisions I need to make, Anna began, her voice steadying itself, empowered by Ethan's genuine concern. About moving forward, about what it means to really let go. Ethan leaned in, curiosity glittering in his gaze. Letting go is tough. But it sounds like you're starting to carve a path for yourself. She smiled, feeling understood. I've sunk a lot of effort into building my food truck. It's more than just a job for me, it's a passion. Yet, there's a part of me still shackled by bad memories. Ethan nodded thoughtfully. It's delving into those memories that can be transformative. I mean, I've been learning to channel my own past to fuel my ambitions. It's about breaking those chains, right? His words resonated deeply. Anna thought about the metaphorical chains, the regrets, and insecurities linked to Jake. Challenge after challenge had tested her resilience, and maybe confronting him was one crucial task that could shatter them. Suddenly, the coffee shop door swung open, disrupting the moment. Anna glanced up, and her heart raced as Jake entered. A storm of emotions swirled in her chest. The familiar figure scanned the room, and for a brief moment, their eyes met. Panic surged through her, but it was quickly superseded by an unexpected resolve. Ethan's presence acted as a steadying force. Hey, it's okay, he soothed, grasping her hand. You don't have to face him alone. Anna's breathing steadied as she considered her choices. She could shrink back, let the weight of her past dictate her emotions, or she could rise to meet the challenge. Perhaps it was time for clarity, time to rewrite her narrative, not just for herself but for the version of her that had once been lost. Thanks, Ethan, she said softly. I think I might need your support. He smiled warmly, adrenaline coursing through Anna as she steeled herself for the inevitable confrontation. Jake was just a few steps away, and the tension bristled in the air as if the universe held its breath. As Jake approached their table, Anna could almost hear her heartbeat resonating in her ears. This wasn't just about closure. It was about reclaiming her narrative, set against the backdrop of her transformed ambitions and Ethan's steady support. Her fight to let go of old chains was about to begin, and she felt an unexpected surge of power suffusing her. The moment was upon her, and she was ready to embrace it, ready to face the specter of her past. Anna, Jake began, uncertainty flickering in his eyes, we need to talk. The determination within her surged, anchored by Ethan's presence. She stood up, her breath catching. Yes, we do. What would this moment reveal about herself, about the relationship she had once held, and how it intertwined with her burgeoning confidence? Would she finally lay her past to rest, or would the confrontation thrust her into deeper shadows? The unfolding confrontation loomed larger than life, the stakes ever so personal. Anna stood at the intersection of her past and future, her heart racing as Jake's familiar presence filled the cafe. But unlike the trembling girl who had once waded through uncertainty, she now felt a steadiness coursing through her veins, ignited by the work she had done to rebuild her life and the encouraging energy radiating from Ethan. Let's talk, she said to Jake, a newfound strength anchoring her words. His vulnerability was palpable, but she was no longer the girl who would allow others to dictate her worth or happiness. The moment was high stakes, yet the weight of her decision felt lighter than ever. They shifted outside, away from the stifling atmosphere of the cafe. The gentle breeze was a stark contrast to the stormy emotions swirling within her. As they stood together in a small clearing, Anthony remained at a respectful distance, watching with eyes full of reassurance. "Why now, Jake?" Anna asked, crossing her arms defensively yet steadied by her resolve. "What has brought you back after all this time?" "I've changed. I've honestly been working on becoming a better person," Jake replied, his sincerity evident in the quiver of his voice. "I don't expect forgiveness or closure, but I need to own the chaos I brought into your life." Her mind churned through the tangled history they shared, the dreams dashed, the sacrifices made. She could almost feel the burden of regret pressing down on her shoulders. But tucked away in that flicker of guilt was her determination, the fierce pride she had grown along the way. Ownership is steps toward accountability, but it can't erase the past or justify what you did. There was a pause, one that hung heavy with unexpressed emotions. Instead of the anger she expected, Anna felt a wave of sorrow wash over her. "You hurt me, Jake. It wasn't just business. You shattered the trust that we had." Each word felt like a layer peeled back, revealing deeper scars. "I understand that, and for what it's worth, I'm sorry," he murmured, penitent eyes capturing hers. Yet, beneath those words was the lingering question: could she truly believe in his transformation? "But I've spent this time reflecting, going to therapy, trying to understand what went wrong. I want to make amends." "Jake, healing changes you," Anna continued, her voice steady despite the straining past, "but it doesn't guarantee a space back into my life. I'm moving in a different direction now. I have dreams I'm working hard to fulfill." His eyes flashed with something that was either recognition or desperation, perhaps both. "And what if I could help? What if we could find a way to collaborate? Think of what we started before I left." "That's not how this works," she emphasized firmly. "Reconstruction doesn't mean returning to the ashes of what we had. I'm building something new now, my food truck, my vision, and I'm determined to do it authentically." The comforting presence of Ethan in her periphery supported Anna's newfound resolve. Jake seemed to deflate ever so slightly, the hope in his eyes dimmed but was not extinguished. "But shouldn't we at least talk through what was? Even for closure?" His expression mirrored yearning, perhaps even regret, but they both knew what was shrouded in their histories. Anna took a deep breath, finding clarity amidst the chaos. "I can't keep wrestling with what you offer because I've already made my peace in my own way. You can't be the bridge back to something that no longer exists for me." The realization struck her: she was done tethering her identity to their pasts. She had discovered her strength through every challenge, evolving into a person who valued authenticity, creativity, and passion above all. To her surprise, a flicker of admiration sparkled in Jake's eyes. "I see that you've truly changed, and for the better. I can't take the pain I caused back, but I respect that you have clarity now." "Thank you," Anna said, feeling the sentiment settle within her like a warm embrace. "That means more than you realize. It's time for both of us to find our own paths forward." As they exchanged one final look, Anna felt the last ties gently sever. She turned to walk back toward Ethan, who had patiently observed. The sense of loss ebbed, and a feeling of liberation surged in its place. "Hey," Ethan said softly as she rejoined him, his eyes scanning her for signs of distress. "Are you all right?" "Absolutely," she confirmed, the breath in her lungs matching her newfound resolve. "I'm finally ready to let go. It's time for me to own my journey entirely." Her voice sang with a new rhythm, one grounded in confidence. She stepped closer to Ethan, grateful for his steady presence, a symbol of hope and authenticity. "Let us go back and brainstorm. There's so much I want to achieve." Together, they moved back toward the cafe, empowered by the confrontation and bolstered by the prospect of a future filled with culinary adventures. The shadows of her past faded as Anna reclaimed her power, ready to carve her own path, proving to herself that personal evolution meant embracing and fostering her identity, piece by piece. That day, Anna stepped fully into her new narrative, leaving the remnants of her past behind. Each taco she prepared would be seasoned with strength, each event she planned would echo her resilience. It was time to sow the seeds of her future, confident and unshaken. Now, those who hear her story will know growth comes from the willingness to confront, survive, and redefine. She had achieved a monumental feat, the ability to stand firmly in her truth, and that was the real triumph. So if you followed Anna's journey and believe in the power of courage, growth, and resilience, you need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm, because every story matters. Comment your reactions and theories about Anna's brave decisions, and how you would have approached each challenge, and finally, share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Don't wait even one more second to uplift someone else with the power of personal transformation.